Ever found yourself repeatedly checking if you've locked the door, even though you know you did? That's a simple form of obsessive behavior, but when does it cross the line? We've all got our quirks. Maybe you can't stand to see a crooked picture frame, or perhaps you feel a compulsive need to count the steps as you climb a staircase. These little habits might seem peculiar, but they're generally harmless. They're the idiosyncrasies that make us unique. But what happens when these quirks start to rule our lives? When they become more than just eccentricities, but compulsions we can't control? Welcome to the world of obsessive behavior, a realm where the line between eccentric and excessive begins to blur. Obsessive behavior is characterized by repeated, persistent thoughts or urges that cause anxiety or distress. It's when you can't help but check that door lock one more time, or when you spend hours organizing your bookshelf just so. At its core, obsessive behavior is about control. It's a coping mechanism, a way for people to manage their anxiety or stress. But like all things, it's a matter of degree. When these behaviors start to interfere with daily life, when they become a source of distress rather than relief, that's when we veer into the territory of obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD, a mental health condition that affects around 2% of the population worldwide. But it's not always so black and white. Obsessive behavior exists on a spectrum, and it's not always easy to discern the quirky from the concerning. That's why it's so important to understand the signs and symptoms of obsessive behavior, and to recognize when a harmless habit has morphed into something more serious. As we delve deeper into the world of obsession, we'll discover how this seemingly harmless quirk can evolve into a debilitating condition. So, buckle up as we embark on this journey into the human mind, exploring the intricacies of obsession and the thin line that separates a quirk from a quandary. Meet John, a successful entrepreneur known for his meticulous attention to detail. But what most people call perfectionism, psychologists might refer to as obsessive behavior. John runs a thriving business, and his colleagues admire his dedication to excellence. He's always the first to arrive at work and the last to leave, constantly striving to make everything perfect. His work is his world, and he pours every ounce of energy into it. But what's not visible on the surface is the toll this quest for perfection takes on John's personal life. John's obsession with perfectionism isn't confined to his professional life, it bleeds into his personal life too. He spends hours organizing his bookshelf, aligning his shoes, and even arranging his food on the plate in a certain way. These tasks, mundane to others, are monumental to him. He feels an intense need to get them just right. And it's this fixation that psychologists would classify as obsessive behavior. What's more, this obsession doesn't just cost John time, it costs him relationships. His friends find his compulsive need for order and symmetry taxing. His family feels neglected as he invests more of his time in perfecting things rather than spending it with them. His pursuit of perfection leaves little room for anything else. John's perfectionism also affects his mental health. The fear of making a mistake or not meeting his own high standards brings him immense stress. He loses sleep over minute details, and his mind is constantly occupied with thoughts of how he can make things better. This, over time, leads to anxiety and burnout. However, it's important to note that John isn't alone in this struggle. Many of us in varying degrees wrestle with similar tendencies. We have high standards, and we strive for excellence. But when these standards become a compulsion, when they start affecting our mental health and relationships, it's time to take a step back and reassess. John's story shows us how obsession can be masked as perfectionism, subtly infiltrating our lives. Now let's turn to Lisa, a retired schoolteacher with a house full of collectibles. Some see her as a sentimental soul, but could it be a sign of obsessive behavior? Lisa's home is a labyrinth of memories, every corner filled with trinkets, souvenirs, and various items she's collected over the years. While to an outsider it might seem like an eccentric hobby, the reality is a bit more complex. Lisa's compulsion to collect and keep objects, even those of little or no value, is indicative of hoarding, a form of obsessive behavior. The impact of Lisa's hoarding extends beyond the cluttered hallways and overstuffed rooms of her home. Her obsession with collecting has strained her relationships with friends and family. Invitations to her home are declined due to the overwhelming sight of piles upon piles of items. Similarly, Lisa's fixation on her collection often becomes the focal point of her conversations. leading to a sense of disconnect with those around her. But there's more to it than just social implications. Lisa's hoarding has begun to affect her quality of life. The sheer volume of items in her home has created an unsafe living environment, with narrow pathways between stacks of items and little space for daily activities. The clutter also makes cleaning a daunting task, leading to unsanitary conditions that can pose a risk to Lisa's health. Despite these challenges, Lisa finds it incredibly difficult to part with her items. The thought of discarding or losing any piece of her collection triggers anxiety, further feeding into her obsessive behavior. This is a common trait among hoarders, where the perceived emotional attachment to objects often outweighs their actual value or usefulness. It's important to emphasize that hoarding is not merely a quirky habit or a sign of being overly sentimental. It's a serious psychological condition that can significantly impact a person's life and relationships, just as it has for Lisa. Lisa's story sheds light on how obsession can turn innocent collecting into compulsive hoarding, impacting our living conditions and relationships. Our third case is Sam, a young professional who is extremely conscious about cleanliness. Is it just a healthy habit, or is there more to it? Let's delve into Sam's world. He's a successful marketing executive with an impressive career. However, his obsession with cleanliness, or what we may call germaphobia, dictates his daily routine and interactions. Every morning, Sam wakes up and compulsively washes his hands. Not once, not twice, but thrice. He uses a specific brand of antibacterial soap and follows a particular cleaning ritual that he believes eliminates all germs. He carries this hand sanitizer everywhere he goes and uses it religiously after touching anything he perceives as unclean. Sam avoids public transportation and crowded places, fearing the invisible microbes that may lurk there. He has a separate set of clothes for public outings and home, ensuring they never mix. The fear of contamination also extends to his food habits. He prefers packaged food over freshly cooked meals, as he believes it to be germ-free. His obsession with cleanliness has significantly affected his social life. He avoids shaking hands or hugging people, and he has a hard time visiting friends or family, worrying about the cleanliness of their homes. He even avoids romantic relationships, as the thought of physical contact sends him into a state of anxiety. At work, Sam insists on maintaining a sterile environment. He cleans his workstation several times a day and avoids common areas like the kitchen or the break room. His colleagues have noticed his behavior, but they've chalked it up to Sam being a clean freak. But is it just about being clean, or is there more to it? Sam's germophobia isn't a simple preference for cleanliness. It's an anxiety disorder that affects his daily life and relationships. His fear of germs is so intense that it's dictating his choices and restricting his experiences. Sam's case illustrates how obsession can transform a healthy habit into a crippling fear, restricting our daily life. From John's perfectionism to Lisa's hoarding and Sam's fear of germs, we've seen different faces of obsessive behavior. But what does it all mean? Obsessive behavior is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon. It's not simply about having a quirky habit or liking things a certain way. It's about a pattern of thoughts and actions that can significantly affect various aspects of a person's life. This could range from their daily routine and social interactions to their mental well-being and overall quality of life. Consider John, our perfectionist. His obsession with flawlessness may drive him to achieve great things, but it could also lead to extreme stress, burnout, and an inability to enjoy his achievements. His fear of making mistakes could prevent him from trying new things, stunting his personal growth and causing him to miss out on potentially enriching experiences. Then there's Lisa, the hoarder. Her need to collect and keep things, even those that have no practical use or value, can create a cluttered and chaotic living environment. This could lead to feelings of embarrassment and isolation, as well as practical difficulties such as finding things she needs or maintaining a clean and healthy home. And let's not forget Sam, the germaphobe. His intense focus on cleanliness and fear of contamination can lead to excessive hand washing, avoidance of public places, and a constant state of anxiety. This could limit his social interactions, affect his physical health, and significantly reduce his overall happiness. So you see, obsessive behavior isn't just about the obsession itself, but also the impact it has on the individual's life. It's about the constant, relentless tug of the obsession, pulling them away from a balanced and fulfilling life. Remember, understanding is the first step to overcoming. If you or someone you know is showing signs of obsessive behavior, reach out to a mental health professional. Because obsession is not just a quirk, it could be a quandary.